Hi, everybody. Coach Cayla is on with us for today. When we kicked off the podcast, Cayla and I did the first few episodes together, and we've gotten such great feedback about them, of us riffing and having a conversation. Because again, part of the reason why the second podcast series was even developed was because Cayla and I have really good conversations, and I love having really good conversations. So we are on today to be talking even more on today's topic, which we're calling it This and That. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit more about what that actually means. And then I'm going to throw a little spin on it from my perspective as well. But I think one of the most important things for us along the way is to be supported. It's for us to have community. So I want to share with you a little bit about our Mindrise Collective community.
We're taking it to the next level. When you're ready to elevate your life, the only way to do that is by who you surround yourself with. That's why you need to come hang out with us in the Mindrise Collective. This is the next level of stepping into your power, because you can't do it alone. And as you always say, B, a rising tide lifts all ships. The Mindrise Collective is our membership experience where you'll find the 3 biggest elements you need to up your game in life: accountability, inspiration, and support, while having breakthroughs that will lead you to create the next level life you desire and deserve. Curious? Join us for your free week at mindrisecollective.com.
Awesome. So we know the community is key. We know that conversations are key. We know that asking ourselves the questions that help us to grow and evolve, those are all key elements. So Cayla, woo-hoo-hoo, you are here. We are jamming about the concept of this and that. Can you tell everybody what on earth we're actually talking about?
So I'll start, maybe this might go deeper than people need it to at the very beginning of the episode. They're like, whoa, slow down, start over. First, I'm excited to be back on. We're at it again together. Super exciting. It's just like, this is fun for both of us to just go back and forth, and we have some profound ideas that come through these episodes as well. And this episode is all about how to live a this and that life. And it's really important to live a this and that life because it allows you to feel fulfilled, and not that you have to leave an idea behind, an experience behind, a person behind, anything like that, right? Where it's not, well, why, I can only have this or that. You have to constantly be making a choice. If I pick this option, I can't have this option. Right? That's really what it is. If I pick this, then all the other options fall away and they're not a possibility. Where in previous episodes, me and Bailey were just speaking on how to ask yourself what else is possible. So this ties directly into that.
Right. Exactly. And if you guys haven't heard the previous episodes, you can just definitely check them out. Apple, Spotify, Google, we're on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe, because when you subscribe, then it says, ding, there's another episode, and then you're always in the know. But if you haven't heard those previous episodes, you'll be fine for today's episode, but definitely go back, do yourself a favor, and dive into those previous episodes with Cayla and I, because I think they're great.
Yes. That's why.
Because we think they're great. That's the only reason. Just do it. So Cayla, part of, having a conversation about a this and that lifestyle is shifting out of the mindset, which I think has become ingrained into so many of us, that you can either, right, have option A or option B.
Yeah.
Choose the right thing. Don't fuck it up. Make sure that you get the right thing chosen. Like, don't screw up. And hold on a second. Whatever you choose is basically a tattoo on your face, and there's no turning it around. There's no pivoting. There's no changing. Like, oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm laughing at it, but it's a laugh of like, I'm relating.
I know
not
it.
like, yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And let's start with just a super small example from, right before we started recording today. Bailey was like, I think it's time for the team to go to Puerto Rico. And yes, like as a team, we get to go to Puerto Rico. And right now, for those who are watching, the video here on YouTube with us, I'm orange. I'm currently in Florida right now, so sending you all the sunshine and rainbows, even though right now it's like downpouring outside. So complete this and that was like sunbathing yesterday to like torrential downpour today, right? And Bailey's like, well, you can't extend your trip in Florida if we're going to go to Puerto Rico. And I was like, Bailey, I live with this and that life. I can do both, right? And super small example, but like, I feel like the average person would be like, shit, you're right. I probably shouldn't extend my stay if I want to go to Puerto Rico. Like, I can only have one or the other. And my
Right.
immediate reaction was like, nope, I'm doing both. We're doing both.
Right. Well, and it's funny because that reminds me of something that you have always said, like, it's my game. It's my game. And we,
yes.
Right. So, and again, I know when we start talking like inside jokes, I think that's also what makes podcasts fun, because it's like, oh, am I going to find out the inside of this joke? But when you talk about it being my game, I think that that's so the essence of Mindrise is for us to understand that like this life that you're creating, that you're cultivating, that you're not, it's not this default setting of like, well, I guess, I'll accept whatever I'm given. Like, this is your game. This is your game. This is your one precious life. What do you want it to look like?
Yeah, you call the shots.
You call the shots. Right?
Exactly. And that is the this and that piece of it. And we were really like jamming on this when we started talking about the Mindrise Collective and what is this experience for people. I don't even want to say like a program, or like it's an experience. It's a place to like in which you get to reside in this collective. And we were talking about like, Bailey was like, well, I think this type of person would be great for the Mindrise Collective. And then I'm like, well, I think this type of person would be great for the Mindrise Collective. And then really we sat and had like not even a hard conversation, but we're like, we need to hammer this out. Like, what is this supposed to look like for people? We want to serve people. So in any area of your life, if you're, volleying between two different options, like how can they come together? How can you bring those two ideas together? And maybe you have to create something new. Maybe it's not easy, right? Even like if something is meant to be, it's supposed to be easy, but that doesn't mean it's always going to feel good. It might not be like the greatest option right away. But in this idea, we were like, well, the person who'd be great for this Mindrise Collective and this container that they get to live in with other people is someone who's into like the spirituality and the strategy, someone who's into like the astrology, right? But they want accountability. It's the this and that. And I think me and Bailey are such an embodiment of both, right? Like we're like, Bailey will send me an email like, here's the cosmos for today. And oh, Mercury retrograde is in the content calendar for this week. But then she's like, okay, show me your clipboard with your to-do list on it. I need to know like the SOP for this and how this is being taken care of and check all the boxes. It's balance. That is what it means to live a this and that life, having balance and not feeling restricted to one way of living.
Right. And that leads me to some of the little notes that I took here when you weren't looking. Because I think when we talk about a this or that lifestyle, this and that lifestyle, it's rather than having this tunnel vision, right? Opening the aperture of our mind, expanding. We talked about this on a previous episode when you interviewed me, right? About being the founder of Mindrise and like where that came to be. But one of the key ingredients was I kept asking, what else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? So instead of being like, here, this is what we're doing. Like I started this company and it's me by myself, baileyfrumen.com. How could it evolve into coaching, coach training, retreats, masterclasses, team, multiple coaches, like, right? If I had just kept my blinders on to this is what it is, period, then we never have the opportunity to grow. So my question to you is, when we talk about having a this and that life, how are the ways in which we embrace our own personal evolution and the lessons that we learned along the way? How do those feed into us stretching out and embodying our this and that lifestyle?
So in how do I so easily say I get to do both, or and not feel restricted to either? Just making sure, like, that's what you're getting at here.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Well, to like throw some tough love on everyone, you have to do the inner work. You have to realize that you're deserving of both. I think that that's a huge piece in it, is that we're conditioned to believe that because everyone else did it this way, that's the way I have to do it too, right? Because that seems like the easiest path to get to success or happiness, right? And all of those things.
Right.
And if you realize you're deserving of more than what everyone else has been doing, then you get to tap into, okay, well, what is it that I want then? And that's a scary question to ask in the first place, because I feel like I'm so tapped into that there's more for me and I can do more, right? But then when I sit and ask myself, so what does more look like? It's like this flood of different ideas that I have no idea what to do with them. Nowhere am I saying I have to choose one idea that comes through for me, right? Or nowhere am I saying that like this is all bullshit and I should probably just like, live my life how everyone else has. But because I know they're all possible, it's overwhelming at some points. It's hard to kind of like get a grasp on, so what does this mean for me? What am I supposed to work on first? And this all has come from, to answer your question again, B, it's all come from doing the deeper inner work, realizing what I'm worthy of, realizing what I'm deserving of. And it's about being able to be excited that you get to create your own identity. In the episode that we were just talking about before, where I interviewed you, we talked a lot about like who you've become. And when we do this deeper inner work and get to know who we really are, we realize like it's just a knowing. Like you honestly remember like, oh, how everyone else is doing things is not really how it's supposed to be done. And then that's when we say, what is possible, opens the aperture of our mind, and ta-da, it's all there. And I promise you, it's not simple and easy after that point, but like, let's just get there first.
Well, here's the thing, Kay, like it might not be simple and easy, but if it's aligned, like that's the ticket, like that's the arrow pointing us in the direction that we're supposed to be in, is if it's aligned. I didn't say, oh, it's the easy way or it's the easy path or it's the shortcut. And that is what it's supposed to be for you, right? No. It's about, is it aligned? Because here's the thing, and I think is really important, is that we develop the way that we live our lives based on what we've seen and based on what we've experienced. So if you saw your parents work the 9-to-5 grind, in the same job for 35 years, get the gold watch and retire, right? Then that's what you expect from yourself that you should be doing, right? And I talk about this all the time because this whole 9-to-5 concept was, developed from the industrial age, right? Because we went from the agricultural age to the industrial age. This is where it came out of. I talk about this all the time. And now we're in the digital age. And even with, the whole pandemic thing, that has proven to people that their limited view of I work here, I go to this office, was almost forced to be blown open to, okay, location is not always required, depending on what your role is, or even the hours with which you work or the flexibility with which you work. So we were in some ways like forced into that. But to your point, when we've only seen it done one way, guess what? We are hardwired to repeat doing it the exact same way that we saw it done.
Right. And one thing you just said was, we tend to live our lives based on what we've seen, we've heard, or we know of to be true. And I challenge everyone who's listening to like answer this question, like, have you meditated? Have you visualized? Have you journaled? Have you looked at yourself in the mirror? Have you done any of those things? Because then what Bailey said still stands true. What you see, what you hear is what you know to, how to live your life. And if you just tune in, I promise you things will come through that not everyone else around you is seeing or hearing. because that's who you really are. And that you have to allow that version of yourself to like have a little bit of a voice to show you what's possible for you. So I think I was actually listening to a meditation and this line came through and it stuck with me. Is like, the first step we have to take ever is inward. And I heard that and I was like,
Yeah,
that's like,
I
right.
love that. I love
the first step we have to take is inward. And then it continued to say, I wish someone told me, for me to ever figure out who I'm meant to be, the first thing I have to do is to tune inward, to ask myself, not anyone else, just ask myself, verbally say that out loud, even if it's just looking at yourself in the mirror. Maybe a clear-cut answer might not come through right away, but you'll get a feeling of some sort, whether that's you're lost and you're confused. Okay, well, then you need to find some direction. You need to see how you can gain some clarity. Right.
And what you're saying goes into that concept of, how are you evolving? The concept of evolution. But to me, to be able to really identify what is your this and that lifestyle, like I am all about, traveling around the world and going on vacation and taking that time off when needed. But I'm also about working my butt off, creating something, hustling, having things that are in aligned, sharing, growing something, making something out of absolute thin air, right? It's this and that. Right? You can have both. So like you talked about before, right? It is astrology and strategy, or it's us being able to talk about crystals and chakras and also be able to have confidence and put ourselves out there. So the question therein lies, like, have you been conscientious about the development of your identity? Right? That's a big one, because who we are is not an accident, right? It's not an accident. It's a culmination of the stories of our history, of our experiences, just as we were talking about. But have you been intentionally paying attention to the development of your identity? What is your this and that?
And recognizing in that, whatever stage you're at, I think that this is a big thing as well, as like people who are so into like their spiritual development growth or personal development growth, whatever it may be, that they're always working towards something. Even like you see it in and I'm of course going to speak like as a light worker, the spiritual perspective, like you see it in that it's your highest self. What would your highest self do? And as humans, we think that this version of us is like the epitome of who we are meant to be, and like that's it, right? And we seem to forget that where we are right now is also okay. Like we're constantly, even in spirituality, we're constantly working towards becoming this other version of who we are meant to be. Or, in the 3D world, like going through school. And then from that point, like, okay, now we're constantly working to get the career. We're always striving for something else. And never do we stop and recognize that like where we are right now, what if that was enough? Like, what if where we're at right now was enough? And that's the thing of like this and that. Yes, you can be striving for this future version of yourself, accomplishing your goals, checking the things off your to-do list to make those things happen. But you're also really thankful and present in who you are right now. Like for me, it's realizing, no, I don't have it all figured out. Will I have it all figured out? Probably not. That's the whole point of this human experience, right? But the other piece of it is like, but I'm really grateful for where I'm at right now and the experiences I get to have, because I've developed a super deep trust and inner knowing that I will get to that. If I stay present here and I'm grateful for who I am right now, whether it seems like a hot mess or not, like it's going to get me there at some point. And it's about trust and knowing that like I will get there, and I get to be really present right now. I don't always have to be so future focused.
No, you don't always have to be so future focused, but I think that this is an important time, just as we're talking right now, for everybody who's listening or watching on YouTube. Like this is a writer downer, or come back and just, capture this moment later on, is like, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? Like who have you decided to become? Right? Because when we talk about the this and that, and guess what's on the opposite side of this and that? This or that. Right? Like And one of the stories that I had struggled with early on was I had worked so hard to create my company, right? And it was successful. And then I had a baby, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I can either have a successful company or be a dedicated mom. And it wasn't even like I honestly, I didn't even like finish the thought or the sentence before my mind was like, well, that's bullshit, because I can have both. Okay. I can have both. Sweet. Okay. So how would I do that? What's possible? Like, what is possible for me? And developing it in such a way that, like, whether it was my schedule or the support people that I had in place, or the way that I did structure my time, or what was important, or that was an opportunity to, get support in terms of an assistant, right? I got to have both. Like, you can have both of whatever it is that you want. Step one is to decide, who are you becoming, right? And that resonates for you, just definitely screenshot this episode, post it on your social media, because we definitely want you guys to be sharing this important conversation. Like, who are you becoming? What is your this and that lifestyle? Like, and what are the ways that you're being really intentional about that identity that you're developing?
Right. Yeah, guys, like B said, screenshot the episode, tag us on Instagram at the Mindrise, so that we know, like, you're committed to figuring out whatever the hell it looks like to live a this and that life. Because some of this is, like we said in the very beginning, our conversations could be super profound, but even if it's the littlest thing of realizing, oh, I can meditate and still work my 9 to 5 because I like my job, like, then that's okay. I can, be the spiritual person and have nice material things too, right? Like, there's stereotypes and stigmas around a lot of ways of life that people live. And it's like, if I choose this job, then I can only wear this type of clothing, right? My closet only consists of those things. Why can't you have a mix of both? And even just asking yourself that question, what do I want more of right now? I feel like when me and Beeb do episodes, we are like constantly throwing questions at you. And a lot of our questions, we'll put the link in our show notes as well. We have weekly journal prompt questions that go out. So if you're looking for the ones in these episodes because you're not writing them down, we'll send them out via text to you as well.
So yeah, texting reflect to 732-487-3404. That's our phone number. Just shoot us a text and text us the word reflect, and we'll get those journal questions out to you. They come out every week because, again, we exist on the belief that we grow in direct correlation to the depth of the questions that we ask ourselves. So guess what, guys? If you're not asking yourselves questions that are going to help you to grow, then you're not growing very much. And that's what we need to do, is set these opportunities up for ourselves where we are growing, where we are evolving, where we are becoming more of who we're meant to be in that, this and that lifestyle. I mean, Cayla, even as we're talking, like, I can drum up so many different examples of this and that. Like, great examples is that whenever I've gone on retreat, whether it's Tulum or Puerto Rico or Portugal, wherever, right? Mm-hmm. And people will always say, where's your baby? Like, and then now she's 6. I mean, like, but they still say, like, oh, who's watching her? And like, I just, when I get a question like that, and it takes all my personal power not to say, well, I left her home alone. Do you think that was a bad idea? Because it's like the implication.
Phoebe would probably be just fine too.
She'd be totally fine. She'd like be living her best life. But the implication is that you can either be a mom or you can host retreats around the world. And I'm like, no, I can do both. Like, yes. I can actually do both things. And yeah, sure, there's sometimes when I will bring her on location or to Puerto Rico or something. But the truth is, it's not an either. I can be a good mom, or I can, or I can be successful entrepreneur. I can have both. Even with it's funny, I just looked at the corner of my eye, my yoga mat over there. So like, yeah, it's like we could practice yoga and I can have a glass of wine with my friends. Like, you can have both. And I think that sometimes we find some sort of illusion. Let me just get fresh here, guys. Like, this illusion of safety by being like a teetotaler, where we're just like, going to do one thing, like, that's it. I'm giving up sugar forever and ever and ever. It's like, okay, if that's the most true and aligned thing for you, awesome. Goodbye, sugar. Not interested in it. Or, you're going to go on a running streak and you're going to run every single day. Okay. Like, this is what you're committed to. That's fine. But I actually find that there's more range and there's more color in life when we just say, like, I'm going to commit to listening to me, to listening to my body. Oh, my body's feeling like this. Whether it's like my body's feeling for the run or my body's, not feeling the run. My body's feeling the sugar and my body's not feeling the sugar. So I think sometimes on the flip side of it, like, we can go to these super strict constraints in this illusion of like, this helps us to stay in control. And I actually think it takes us really far away from being able to play into all the colors that life has to offer. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that we live in a space that's breaking away from this, like in terms of our society. A lot of the times we're breaking away from this separatism. We're breaking away from like the this or that. But in some sense of that phrase, people are still made to seem crazy for choosing this and that, because we haven't fully evolved yet to the place where there's balance between, having a glass of wine and doing yoga, right? Like, being able to do all the pieces. The one that just came to mind for me is I'm constantly sharing on my personal Instagram to connect with nature, to get outside, to go on walks, connect with nature. Meanwhile, my work that I do with Mindrise is completely virtual, and I sit in front of the computer for probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 hours a day. And you would think that if someone's promoting for you to go out into nature and do those things, then they're like, don't be in front of the computer, be off your phones, like anti-technology, right? Like the this or that. But for me, it's about finding how those two things can tie together. So me showing up on my social media or being on my phone isn't aimless scrolling, right? It's intentional. What message am I sharing right now while being on here? The work that I do on my laptop, I'm not just, watching Netflix or being unproductive. For me, it's like, what impact can I be making? What pieces need to be put together right now? So if you're living a this and that life, you find a way to take the thing over here and the thing over here and bring them together so that they balance each other. When I'm thinking about Bailey's example of her retreats, she starts talking about, she was sharing how she'll be on the retreat and people are asking about, where's Phoebe? Like, where's your daughter at? How are you doing this and that, right? And what I'm thinking is like, damn, because Bailey's going on these retreats, she gets to share way more experiences and points of view with her daughter because of those. And it's like, if she didn't choose that, to do both at the same time, be a mom and host retreats and have these traveling experiences, there would be some lessons that maybe Phoebe would be missing out on because Bailey didn't get to have those experiences. Or when Phoebe wants to travel one day, for Bailey to share her wisdom and knowledge on what those experiences will be like to be in other countries. So when we can decide that both options, when they're paired together, they can actually benefit each other, that's when we start to live that this and that life, because we realize that there can be balance with things that, society may make to seem polar opposite.
Right. And so a couple of points I want to make here is, it's not this and that. It's not both to the point of overwhelm. And it's not this and that because you don't want to miss out, right? It's this and that because both things feel really aligned for you. Like,
yes,
the chocolate and the kale, right? Like, they both, and it's a silly example, but like, I'm aligned with both of those things. So it's this and that in the sake of alignment. And don't get me wrong, I think that there is an awesome space for polarity, especially, and this will have to be a separate episode in of itself because I could totally dive into this right now. But the polarity that exists between our feminine and our masculine energetic sides, right? Our masculine being that secure the perimeter, target the goal, get shit done. Where is your clipboard, right? And the feminine of that dreaming, pontificating, feeling into it. And the truth is, like, at least how I feel, I need this and that, right? I need my clipboard because I got to get shit done. And then I also like love being in that dreaming space of what else is possible. So I say that because I think that it's important that when we're talking about this and that, it's not in service of not missing out. It's not in service of I'm going to do it all and burn myself out on the way. Like I know what that is like, and it's not a good place to be, right? It's this and that, because those are the things that are most true for you. That is what makes you feel lit up and alive, right? And that you don't have to choose one and push the other one away, even though it is part of your identity or the identity that you're developing, right?
Yeah.
It's
being able to tune in to like what feels good to you. That's like my phrase all the time. Well, what feels good to you? Do what feels good to you. I'm always saying that. And as you're like, I want to kind of go back to the chocolate and kale, maybe not eating together, but like the analogy itself reminds me of when I'm eating with my family. We'll sit down and have like a vegan dinner. So like I'm like, I won't eat too much meat. My sister doesn't do dairy. My aunt's like no carbs, right? Like we've got all these different diet like restrictions of what we choose to eat in what feels good to our bodies. And we come together and make a meal that the entire family can sit down and eat together. And it's one meal. So then, we'll eat this healthy, ends up being like keto, vegan friendly meal that tastes pretty good. If you need recipes, let me know. But then from that point, we'll all sit there, eat our foods, chat, and then be like, I want something sweet, like dessert. After just having this like super healthy dinner. And it's like, instead of us saying like, no, we just had a healthy dinner, like we probably shouldn't do that. It's a small little action of like, if you're living that this or that life, you restrict yourself. And then like, you're kind of unsatisfied, like eat a couple M&Ms, like have the cookie and then like drink some tea after, you know what I mean? Like being able to have that balance for yourself. And then you go to bed satisfied, not craving something. And this goes, even bigger into other areas of our lives when we choose one way and then we go to bed wishing we chose the other way. How can you bring those two things together? Like Bailey said, not for overwhelm, but to just really feel good and complete is the whole theme.
Right. Feeling good, feeling complete, like fully being yourself. So as we close this episode, which, and Kayla and I get rolling, like we could talk for hours, but as we get ready to close this episode, I really want you to all think about, how can I embody, right? Important word. If it's new to your vocabulary, just picture yourself like fully stretching out into your life, right? How can I embody my this and that lifestyle?
Yes.
And if you feel a little stuck on that, just do yourself a favor and make a bullet point list. Keep it really simple. Make a bullet point list of, here are the things that I want in my life. Like, here are the things that are true for me. So let's hypothetically say that, like, I can't even tell you guys how much I was chuckling when everything went virtual. And I had so many like clients and friends and everybody who had for years told me that they could never work from home. It would never, ever happen. Their boss would never approve that. The company culture is not that at all. And then everybody had to work from home. And I was like, well, I just blew that one out of the water. So, as you ask yourself the question, like, what would be my embodiment of this and that lifestyle? Make your bullet point list of like, what are the things that you want? And then I'm even going to invite you to like, make a list, and we can like rip it up and burn it later, but make a list of all the things that you think aren't possible. Okay. So if it was like, I don't think I could, travel, or I don't think that I could live where I want, or I don't think that I could work from home, or I don't think that I could start a podcast, or, be on YouTube, or whatever your story is. And for all my podcast listeners, as you see me on YouTube, I'm like making my little air quotations, like what your story is. And I will lovingly, in a very New Jersey sort of way, say like what your bullshit story is, right? It's the bullshit story that you're telling yourself. But like, what would be the embodiment of your this and that? And like, what's the story that you're telling yourself that's getting in your own way? Because the truth is that when you are able to shed light on like the story that isn't working for you, only then can you actually change it and get to live the story and the life that is for you.
Yeah, that's it. That's the truth bomb of today.
Awesome. Any last parting words, my friend, Coach Cayla, joining us today?
As soon as you said last parting words, the first thing that came to mind was I'll be back.
That's true. That is true.
No, but thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. Like we said at the very beginning, be sure to subscribe, stay tuned in with us. If this episode resonated for you in any way, just screenshot it, tag us on Instagram at the Mindrise. We'd love to hear from you, what it looks like for you to live at this and that life, and how here at the Mindrise we can help you and support you in living that this and that life. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for today. And we will catch you on all the socials and all the podcasts, and make sure you subscribe and all the good stuff. Because at the end of the day, a rising tide lifts all ships. Bye, guys.
See you later.